Welcome back in. It is the Jake Asman Show here on the Sports Map Radio Network as we come at you coast to coast on Sports Map Radio affiliates nationwide, and of course, right here in Houston, Texas, where our very next guest will be performing this weekend at the Houston Improv. Shows on Friday and Saturday. He's one of my favorite actors on my favorite TV show of all time. The great Jeremy Piven joins us now. And Jeremy, I can't thank you enough for some time, man. I hope you're doing well.
I am doing well, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So you're doing stand-up now, which I think a lot of people maybe are unaware that you've been doing it for quite a while now. What is, what has been, the transition like being an actor, being in movies, and now making that transition to being a stand-up comic?
It's interesting because I grew up on the stage. I've been doing improv since I was a child, and I won't bore you with my background. Because I've been told it's incredibly pretentious to tell people that Entourage was not a documentary and Ari Gold is a fictional character. And I spent my entire life on the stage, and I'm a journeyman actor that's made 70 movies and won the Fresh Face of the Year award at 37 years old. And I said, there's nothing fresh about my face. That's all really boring. What I will tell you is this: after being in Second City and doing sketch comedy my whole life and improvising and rewriting everything that I go near, the last arena to really try that I have so much respect for is stand-up. So, you live or die in real time, and I love it. I love everything about it. You got to write everything yourself, and it's a one-man show out there, and it's been incredible.
Now, I think a lot of people, Jeremy, when they think of stand-up, they think of course, off the cuff, you're improvising, you're getting a feel for what the audience is laughing at and react to. Your character in Entourage, of course, Ari Gold, a lot of people think you were improvising a lot in that role, but I've heard you say this before, right? That was a scripted show. You were following the lines that Doug Ellen wrote so beautifully. So how different is it going from being an actor to trying to make that transition, and the differences when you're performing in front of a live audience doing stand-up?
Doug Ellen wrote every word of Entourage, and he was, he put a lot of work into it, and he made sure that we got every single word right. And there was someone that was there, and it was so good that you don't deviate. And at the same time, I am an improvisational actor. That's my background, and so I always wanted to contribute in my own way, and was always respectful to Doug. And it was an interesting dance. When do you pitch a change or an idea or a joke or whatever before, 2 weeks before, on the day, during the take, whatever? So that was my journey with Doug, and it's a testament to his words that people liked, and it was so funny, and it's my job to make it all feel improvisational. So that's what acting is. And now, be careful what you wish for, man, because now it's like, okay, you want some freedom? How about all the freedom? So it's like, I'm writing the whole thing myself. So that's what's kind of fun. People can come out and see, okay, is this guy funny? And what I've heard the most is, to be honest with you, and this is very, very strange, I've heard people say after my shows, we had no idea you were this funny, which is one of the weirdest backhanded compliments because, I've done a lot of work in the comedy space. And so it's kind of like, okay, I've never been funny. And now, but you have to look at it like it's a compliment. Like, look, I'm making people laugh for an hour on stage. We're in the same room. And so it's an honor, and I'm loving it.
For over 10 years, you pretty much made people laugh on Entourage. Why do you think that show, Jeremy, connected with so many people?
I think it's a combination where you've got a group of friends that are incredibly loyal to each other, and they're navigating a very difficult space. Hollywood is incredibly difficult. You see the rise and fall all the time, and it's not easy to navigate that space. And yet here's a group of guys that are very authentic. They've been friends, from back in the day, East Coast guys, and they love each other, and they're also very honest, and they bust each other's balls. And you got the adult in the room, Ari, that represents success, and he's modeled after a real character. Ari Emanuel is one of the biggest players in Hollywood. And he represents, among other people, Mark Wahlberg. And the show is based on Mark and his life. And it's very specific in that way and authentic. And I think people gravitated towards it because of that.
What's the one line or the one saying that people come up to you all the time and want you to say as Ari Gold?
Tell my wife she's a rusty cunt bucket. Adorable. It's a little awkward because I'm usually at a mall in front of possibly on a merry-go-round. And, you know, it's very awkward. Let's hug it out, bitch. Where's Lloyd? I'm a douchebag because of you, bro. You. And I'm usually at the urinal, and they're smacking me in the back. So it's it's an interesting journey, this life.
You mentioned the Lloyd character, of course. Was it ever hard to say some of the things you had to say in the show to the actor Rex Lee, who of course played Lloyd?
It was interesting because Rex is one of these guys who always had his game face on, never was offended, and yet every day when we would work together, I'd go to him and say, "Are you okay with me saying, have you ever had so much cum squirted in your eyes that you can't see what's right in front of your fucking face? There better be a Scud missile heading towards us, or I will choke you out with a fucking strap on." And I know I can't say all these words, but hopefully you'll navigate this space anyway. It better be Carmen Electra on the coconut wire asking for an emergency titty fuck. All of those, I would say to him, hey, with me saying this, and he'd go, "What's the problem? Just say it. Who cares? It's in the script. You're in character. Just say it." And so he was a total trooper, and it was amazing. I would run my lines with my mom, and I talk about this on stage. And sorry for this transition, but I'll be at the Houston Improv all weekend, and this is the type of stuff that I will be talking about. Running lines with my mom. Actually, I made the mistake of saying I've been doing lines with my mom. And then I talk about the mistake of people thinking that now you're doing cocaine with your mom. No, my mom's been my acting teacher since I was a kid. And so everything I said is Ari Gold, I've said to my mom's face, which is insane if you think of all the profanity that Ari said. But my mom is a total pro, and she's what the Jews call a mensch. She doesn't get offended. She's in there to help me and to navigate. And so I can't do any of the bits right now, but if you come out to the Improv in Houston this weekend, we will get into it, and we will hug it out because there's some VIP tickets still left.
Yes, indeed, we will. Actor Jeremy Piven joining us here on the Jake Asman Show on Sports Map Radio. It's interesting, Jeremy, because I see with HBO Max now being a huge thing that HBO's backing, we're seeing a lot of shows get rebooted. We're seeing a lot of shows have a new life. If Entourage was pitched to you guys as, a comeback show, you guys could redo it, bring it back. Would you be in on playing the character Ari Gold once again?
I think that I would love to play Lloyd actually this time. Be like this traveling group where we all play different characters. I think it'd be funny. Maybe even Johnny Drama. Anything in there for me, bro? Maybe we could all, that would be funny to watch us audition for the different characters. No, I would love to play Ari. And listen, it's interesting because because of doing stand-up and social media, even apps like Cameo, where I keep getting these requests to, hey, can you in character as Ari Gold? People still have connections to these characters and to that world. And it's still, even though it was a few years ago, the movie came out, it's still very fresh in people's minds, So I think that a reboot, it's not as if, we're pulling out the Equalizer. No disrespect to the Equalizer on CBS with Queen Latifah, but I don't remember people going, "Man, I need to see the Equalizer." I don't remember that conversation, but people, I think HBO Max would be a perfect home for Entourage, and I'd be up for it.
Was there ever talk of a Ari Gold spinoff? Because for years I remember, being the sycophant Entourage fan that I am, reading the message boards and people saying there needs to be an Ari spinoff if they're going to do something. Of course, a couple of years later, we get the movie, which was great. But was there ever talks about an Ari spinoff, or that was just kind of like internet theories out there?
I think it was internet theories, and I'm flattered by it because even Barstool Sports, I don't mean to mention them on your show.
I love Barstool.
Yeah, they're great. And they were talking about it, and they, said, "Hey, what are your thoughts on it?" And I put a video out for them, and they've got some incredible reach and fans and great content. I think it was just more people wanting to see more Ari and seeing him navigate, whether he's representing athletes. There's so many different ways that he could go logically, because, one of the great things about Entourage is it was always authentic, and we tried to keep it very specific and real. And Ari Emanuel, who the character is based on, is now navigating the sports space. He has a group that bought the UFC. So I think, my character navigating that space would be, it's a very easy jump, and it's, I think, very fertile ground to play in.
It's funny you mentioned the sports space. One of the storylines in one of the seasons of Entourage is Ari Gold trying to bring a football team to LA. Well, now we have two football teams in LA. So just think about how different things are just in the past couple of years since Entourage has since been off the air.
That's right. Two great teams. A lot has happened, and there would be so much to play off of. And it's funny. I get to go in and out of character because I've been doing stand up now for a while, and people are yelling out in the audience. They'll yell out, Lloyd. Sounds like they have Tourette's, but I just have to navigate it. And it's funny because I go into that character a bit only to service a story while on stage that I'll be at the Improv in Houston. I keep referring back to that because I would love to talk to you like you and I are best friends from back in the day for 3-4 hours. But at the same time, I have to let people know
Yes.
that actually come and see me live at the Improv in Houston. And I get to, at the very end, I talk about the character and navigating it and who I am. And I'm a journeyman actor from Chicago, and just kind of like giving people selfishly a chance to see who I am. And, that's the whole thing that they say about stand-up is just get up there and tell the truth. So it's been an amazing journey.
Jeremy, besides Entourage, what are some of the things that you've done in your career? And you mentioned it, you've been in 70 different movies. You're doing stand-up now. You've done a lot. And I know a lot of people associate you, of course, with the Ari Gold character, and you won your Emmys on Entourage. But your career as a whole is so impressive. What else really inspires you? When you think back on it, what are some of your fondest memories being a performer either in TV or in different movies that you've been in your career?
I have a movie coming out in a couple of weeks called Last Call. And I got to work with the great Bruce Dern. And Bruce Dern is one of these guys, he's of that whole kind of De Niro, Pacino, Harvey Keitel, that whole generation. And he's a guy that's been nominated for Academy Awards and incredibly prolific and a guy who speaks his mind, very authentic, and probably would be misunderstood if he were very much in the public eye. Because he just is from another time and a very sweet, hardworking guy who is not always thinking about being on his best behavior. He uses some colorful language, and he's very funny and interesting and one of the most talented guys on the planet. And so myself, Taryn Manning from Orange is the New Black, incredible cast about, we're a group of guys who, our parents own a bar in Philly. I end up making it big. I come back to Philly to kind of gentrify the neighborhood and kind of like, homogenize the whole place for my own profit and gain. And it's a neighborhood story about coming to terms with who you are, who your friends are, what means the most to you in this life. Comes out on IFC on March 16th and in theaters and whatnot. So I've just been very lucky. I've got to work with some of my heroes, and that's one of those cases where people, I think, really need to laugh right now, and they need an edgy comedy. And this is also about pub life and coming together, something that we've all been missing.
Jeremy Piven with us here. We are a sports show, Jeremy, so I got to ask you a couple sports questions before we wrap up here. You're a huge Bears fan. What should the Bears do at the quarterback spot? You're now GM Ryan Pace. You tell the audience what you want to see the Bears do at quarterback.
I think Deshaun obviously is one of the most talented players who's ever played quarterback. And we'd be lucky to have him, and then there are guys, and this is going to really throw you for a loop. There are guys like Alex Smith, he's indestructible. He's in his mid-30s. Alex Smith is 7 years younger than the guy that just won the Super Bowl. And also, he had a flesh-eating disease.
Yes.
Eat it, right? And they were going to, so nothing will take that guy out. It'd be amazing to have him, the Bears are, one piece away from really going deep into the playoffs, and So, I would love to be a part of that front office. That would be the dream, because I grew up as a kid in Chicago watching Walter Payton and all the greats, and I will always be a Bears fan.
I'm surprised you didn't mention the name Russell Wilson, who basically said, I don't want to be traded, but if I am traded, and the Bears were one of the teams on his list, Jeremy.
Russell Wilson is, Hall of Famer. One of these guys will go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. In fact, he's so good that he made a Hall of Famer quit. Great Brian Urlacher literally said to me that he was chasing danger is, and we would be lucky to have him. We'd be incredibly lucky to have him. And he's got us on his radar. Russell Wilson was in the Entourage movie, and I'm a huge fan, and he was just a sweet, humble guy. And he would watch me work, and he would say, like, when you do a take, is it kind of like a regular season playoff or the Super Bowl? And I go, every play, every take is like the Super Bowl. And he said, me too, man. And listen, I don't equate myself with a Hall of Famer or that I'm on his level, but I think that we bonded in the fact that there is no other option but to give everything that you have at all times. I'm a stage actor from Chicago. I came up as the underdog. I'm still the underdog. That's my mentality at all times. It's good to have a chip on your shoulder and always feel like you got something to prove, and that there is no phoning it in. That's not even an option. And it's like, people are like, bro, I heard you're pretty intense on set, bro. I'm like, yeah, I go as hard as I can, and I'm always asking for another take, and I want to see, is there something more? And that's the way you got to be.
And that's why you're one of the great actors. So let's end with this. You mentioned Russell Wilson. He had a cameo in the movie for Entourage. Out of all the cameos in either the show or the movie, is there one that stands out among all of them? The one that you think about the most when you look back on your time being part of Entourage?
Well, I'm not just saying this. Everyone from LeBron to Tom Brady to Julian Edelman, they were all just you could tell, like, there's a reason why these guys are in the position they're in. They look you in the eyes. They're professional. They come ready to play. They're hardworking, but at the same time, they have a great energy. They're humble, and they're just very professional and yet badasses. So it's hard to pick one out of all of them. I was lucky enough to work very extensively with the great Mike Tyson, and so because he came in and he was one of my clients supposedly, and so that was the time of my life. And I've been lucky enough to kind of work with Mike on Hot Boxing. I've been his co-host for a bit, and he's incredible. He's everything you'd hope he would be. He's very authentic. He's wildly eccentric and a sweetheart. And you can spend 5 minutes with Mike Tyson and get a real sense of who he is. And he came in, and he was like, you could tell he had worked on it, and that he was ready to go, and he was taking his cuts from the jump. And it was just a pleasure to work with him. And he was walking me to my car after we filmed, and he said, he goes, basically, I don't understand. He goes, why are you alone? You shouldn't be alone. He goes, you're Jeremy Piven. You have like an entourage. I go, no, I'm good. He goes, no, seriously, why are you alone? He was with his bodyguard. I was alone. And his bodyguard goes, Mike, look at Jeremy. Jeremy can handle himself. And Mike goes, this dude looks like he's the captain of the Jewish debate team. That's what he said to me. And it hurt, because I never made captain. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.
He's actor Jeremy Piven. Houston, listen up. Jeremy Piven coming to the Houston Improv this Friday, March 6th, this Saturday, March 7th. Should be a blast. Tickets are still available. You got to see this guy. He's one of my favorite actors. He's been so gracious with his time. Jeremy, I can't thank you enough. I wish you nothing but the best this weekend and moving forward, and can't wait to see your movie Last Call coming out later this month.
Thank you, buddy. Take care of yourself.